Hello everyone. This is gonna be my first actual video, so I don't know if anyone's gonna actually watch it. I do have to be quiet though, because I'm deciding to do this late at night. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about a theory that I've had about black holes. And I've been thinking a lot recently, and I just got out of the shower, and we all know how shower thoughts come on, and then you start to think about existential things. And I've been having this theory for a while. Now, what I'm going to say is a little bit different from the theory I originally had, but it's still quite similar to it. And it's specifically about the singularity of a black hole. Now, I haven't read anything about black holes. I haven't studied about them. I don't know facts about too much about gravity. I understand the basics though. The very, very, very basics. And yeah. So I'm gonna be talking about that. And yeah. So we all know what if anyone watches this, you should know what a black hole is. It's a point of infinite density, basically. A point of where if anything crosses its event horizon, it can't return. But I don't, well, that is the case, but I don't think the singularity is as small as we think it is. I think it's a little bit bigger than it's thought to be. And here's why. So, when a star collapses, if it's a little bit on the smaller end, it usually becomes a neutron star, or, no, that's if it's bigger. If it's a little bit smaller than usual for a black hole, it usually collapses into a dwarf star, which is slightly dimmer and a lot less gravitationally strong. But if it reaches enough mass, then it either becomes, I think it's a neutron star, or it can become a lot of things. But anyway, we're talking about black holes. Now it's thought that a star will reach its point where the gravity overcomes its mass and it just collapses immediately and becomes this dark point where it's infinitely dense. But nothing's really infinite in life. Nothing's infinite except numbers, but even that's finite. We still come up with numbers every day. So yeah, nothing's entirely infinite as we think. So it makes you think, is it really that small? Because if it's infinitely small and infinitely dense, then it should just suck everything in, but it doesn't. And that got me thinking, how would it actually come to be? Now, on Earth, normal explosions, now I can't say this for a fact because I haven't really studied or done my research on it, but I'd assume that when something explodes, first you have the point of explosion. It expands out, kind of collapses back in, and then fully makes the explosion. Now, that's with no gravity holding it in on that hole. Obviously, it has the Earth's gravity pulling it down. And that's why I think that once it explodes first, it collapses back in. But anyway, there's not enough gravity for it to kind of bounce. So it explodes out, comes back in, explodes out fully. Now in space, there's no atmosphere, there's nothing. It's just purely gravity. Now, let's say we have a supermassive star. This star is starting to reach the end of its life. It first started as a normal star, kept expanding, and its field of gravity is at a set point. It doesn't expand with it because the gravity of the star, the mass of the star, hasn't really increased. It's only grown in size. So as it grows, its field of influence hasn't moved. So it's growing and growing and growing, and then eventually it reaches its point of influence. Now, once it surpasses that, it kind of collapses in, and that's how a black hole should be formed. Now, once it collapses in, we know that it causes a supernova, which a supernova is, in its basis, it's a cloud of gas that explodes from the star. It's the outer layers of the star. Now, when the star collapses, it does the same thing as normal explosions, as I assume. It collapses inward, and then the mass, the outer layers, shoot out, causing a cloud of gas. This can also be known as, I forget what it's specifically called, but it causes those nebula. It causes nebula. And when it collapses, it should bounce at least once more, but because of its gravity, it would continue to bounce, right? So let's think of a ball, okay? When you squeeze a ball, it gets crushed, and when you let go, it will come back. But because it comes back too fast, it kind of goes back in, and then out, and then in, and then out, and then it stops. Now, the mass of the star is still there, so it will collapse, spew out the outer layers, and then you have the core. And now the core will act like the elastic ball. It will expand and contract a little bit, and it'll keep doing that. And because there's no stopping it, its gravity is still there. So it'll expand, and its own gravity will crush it back in. And it does that really quickly, and then it speeds up more and more and more and more and more. And now that kind of creates a field of gravity in on itself. Now, I don't know much about gravity. This is just my theory. I'm sure once I actually study gravity and start to learn more, I'll be proven wrong. But I don't know. So I'm thinking it'll expand, explode, and then start moving like this. And it'll start to speed up. And it'll get faster and faster and faster. And the gravity will increase around it. It'll kind of create like a mirage, when something, not a mirage, like an after image, when something moves super fast. It seems to be in multiple places at once, but it's not. Like a fan. It'll get faster and faster and faster. And as it gets faster, the gravity around it starts to slightly distort. And as it speeds up, it distorts more and more and more and more. And that creates the event horizon, the point of no return. So, the singularity isn't a tiny little dot. It's actually still the same size as the core, maybe slightly smaller. But it's still the same size. And we can't know for sure. We can't see into a black hole. We can't really study them too much. But we can assume, and we can learn more as we go. So, I'm thinking the singularity is a lot bigger than we think it is. And this will actually kind of help my theory for supermassive black holes as well. So, once it reaches that point, it causes a field of distortion. And the gravity around it is still the same as the normal star, but now there's just an extra field that becomes stronger and stronger, hence what causes that to do that. Now, the reason we get the event horizon is because the gravity around the singularity becomes so strong that it basically bends light. Light cannot escape it. So as it does that, it creates that field, and the light can't go into that. So it gets bent around it, and it kind of gets stuck in it because it's bouncing so much. So we get the event horizon. I've said that a lot. we get that, and the rings are just from it eating stars. But anyway, once we get that event horizon, we can't see into it because there's no light reaching the inside. So we can only assume that the singularity is a super small point. We can't actually know the real size. The singularity could be the size of the entire black hole itself, but we would never know. But I think it's about the same size as the core of the star is. Now, once it reaches that point, right, light can no longer get in. So, what happens? Well, we don't know. We can't know. And I think we never truly will know exactly what the singularity might be. I think I have a dead pixel. We will never truly know what the singularity looks like unless we start to obtain some new technology that allows us to do that. But anyway, I've spoken about what I think the singularity might be and how big it might be. Now let's start talking about the size differentiation between black holes. See, some black holes are a lot smaller than others, and some are much larger. Now, it's theorized that in a larger, much larger black hole, you can survive a lot longer than you would in a smaller one. Now, this does make sense, because in a smaller one, the event horizon and the singularity would be a lot closer together. So you'd get sucked in, spin around really quickly, and basically die a lot faster. But in a supermassive black hole, it's theorized that the event horizon and the singularity have a lot larger distance in between them. But I think my theory still stands between those things. I think it still can be incorporated into that. For a smaller black hole, the singularity would probably be bouncing a lot faster than it would a normal sized black hole. Now, there's not a small, medium, and large. Well, there is, but there's not a designated normal size for a black hole that I know of. Now, for a smaller black hole, the core would be a lot smaller, so it would be a little bit sped up. Now, it'll bounce a lot faster than a normal one would, so its gravity isn't really, it isn't really stronger than a normal one, but it could be. It could. So as it bounces faster than a normal one, it creates the same field, creates a field around it, the event horizon. Now, if you were to fall into a small one, obviously, you would die by the rings around it first and heat. But let's just get rid of that. If you were to fall into it, because it's bouncing a lot faster, the gravity between those will be a lot stronger than it should be. So you will get sucked in and spaghettified a lot quicker. Now, spaghettification is theorized as a thing that would happen in a black hole. Because it's so strong, it would stretch you out and you would become atomized, which basically means you would be ripped apart atom by atom. It sounds very gruesome. Now, we've kind of determined what would happen in a smaller one. Now, in a medium-sized one, you take the same principle. It bounces, creates that field, but because it's a lot larger, the singularity and the event horizon are going to be a little bit spaced apart. And I think this would be because of the mass of the star. The core would either be smaller, medium, or larger. And it could be a lot larger, like a small, medium, large, largest. But we have the medium-sized. Its event horizon wouldn't be as close to it as a smaller one, but it would still be a medium ways in front of it. So you'd create something similar to a gap. So you would most likely survive a little bit longer than you would. So you'd fall in, ignore the heat, you'd fall in, and as you approach the singularity, the gravity becomes stronger. And because it's more medium-sized, the event horizon is a lot farther. So you'll fall in, and instead of getting immediately atomized in, let's say, 1 second in a normal black hole, in a small black hole, in a normal black hole, you'd survive maybe an extra minute. So we have 1 second, a minute. So you'd fall in, there'd be that gap between the singularity, the core of the black hole, the core of the star, and the event horizon that is caused from it bouncing. So there's that little gap, you fall in, and you're fine for now, but as you start to approach it, you start to get stretched out more and more and more, and then, once you get close enough to the singularity, you get atomized. Now, you take that, and you apply it to a massive black hole. This time, the distance between the core of the star, the singularity, is a lot larger, and there's a lot more distance between the event horizon and the singularity. Singularity is still the same size as the core of the star, it just has a little bit more length between the two. Oh, and I think that for larger black holes, they bounce slightly less fast. They still create a black hole, but they just slightly bounce less. So, wait, that might actually create the distance between them. See, for a smaller one, it would be smaller, so it would bounce faster, therefore creating a smaller distance between the event horizon and the singularity. In a normal one, it bounces normally fast, so it creates a normal distance. But in a larger black hole, it bounces slightly less fast, so it would create a larger distance between the singularity and the event horizon. So once you once you start to approach it, ignore the heat, you'd fall in. You'd still fall at the same rate as everything else, as the other ones, but as you fall in, you'll survive a much longer amount of time. So let's say an hour. So 1 second, 1 minute, an hour. You'd fall in, and you'd very, very, very slowly approach it, because there's a lot more gravity to get past. So if it's a field, you have the outer rings, which is basically where light doesn't get affected by the gravity of the black hole as badly. And as you get closer, the gravity gets stronger. You get it. But because the gravity is a lot stronger and it's bouncing a lot slower, and it creates that distance, as you fall in, you have a lot more time, and then you reach it. And once you reach it, the same thing happens. You get stretched out and atomized. Now, in a supermassive black hole, this one would bounce a lot slower. So the field would be even larger. So 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 10 hours, let's say. So you ignore the heat, you fall in, and you fall for a lot longer. The core is still there. It's still there. It's still the same core. And it's most likely the same size of the core of the star was. But you would fall, and fall, and fall, and fall. and you'd slowly, very, very slowly get stretched out. Not as badly as other black holes. And you'd slowly fall in. And eventually, you'll start reaching the middle. You get stretched out even more. Then singularity, stretched out completely. Now, that basically about sums up my theory. Now, I'm pretty tired, and I kind of started forgetting about what my theory was, because I'm explaining it to, hopefully, people, but I've never done this before, so my mind is a little bit jumbled. I might have said a few wrong things when I originally thought of a complete thing. So, my theory might be a little messed up, and it might be slightly different from what I thought of before. But if there are any actual people who study black holes or are scientists, I'd love to hear more about gravity and black holes, and I'd love to learn more about that. So, if you study that, tell me. I'd love to learn. But yeah, that basically about sums up what I think a singularity might be. Yeah, like I said, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to making videos. I'm not used to talking for long periods of time. Excuse me. But yeah, I'll just sum it up. Black hole collapses, expands out very rapidly, creates a field, the point, creates that field. That field varies in distance between the singularity and it, depending on the size of the black hole, and you'll fall in much faster depending on the size of a black hole. God. What I thought was very interesting was when news got out about the two black holes colliding. I thought that was very cool. I'm getting sidetracked, but I thought that was very cool. I think that might also help my theory slightly. My brain is like out the door right now. But in the audio you can hear whooshing sounds, like which is basically them spinning around each other. Now, if they were to be spinning around like that, the event horizon would touch each other. And I might have short-term memory loss, or the government found out. The government is currently wiping my brain. I genuinely forgot everything I said about this theory. Yeah, if you have any theories or ideas, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to learn more. And yeah, I might make more videos like this, not where I talk about theories, but normal science stuff, because in the last short I made, which was today, somebody was a little bit upset that I didn't explain in full detail. They weren't upset, they were just talking to me about what I said. And I think it would be reasonable if I think it would be cool if I were to start making videos about science facts. I think that would be very cool. Dude, I need to be studied. This is bad. I may have, like, Alzheimer's or short-term memory loss. I am just completely blanking. This is, that is kind of scary. Yeah, I seriously doubt anyone's gonna actually watch this video, but if you've watched until the end and you're seeing me, if you're currently watching my brain slowly deteriorate, leave a dementia comment. That would be funny to see if anybody actually watches. And yeah, that's my theory of black holes. Yeah, I might start talking more about science. Seriously, I need to be studied. Oh my god, this is bad.